today's episode, we're going to review the latest events from AAW Pro Wrestling based out of Chicago, and of course, LA promotion VXS, or as we call it, Violence and Suffering. But of course, we got Strong Style involved by New Japan Strong. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay, right here. So, let's begin with AAW Pro Wrestling. This promotion out of Chicago is this event is called Never Say Die, and it took place on the 29th of April. Now, it opened up with a number one contendership for the Heritage Championship. We have Davey Vega versus Shane Hollister versus Braden Lee versus Gringo Loco. Now, as you know, with this type of match, it's anybody's ball game. But if I had to pick one person, that seems like it had to be the one that wants to challenge for the Heritage title, and that would be Davey Vega. As you know, Davey Vega has been on a roll for a while, trying to prove that he will be the next Heritage champion since he aligned himself with Johnny E. Bravo. And of course, that's exactly what he did when he pinned, I believe, Gringo Loco, and that was over. I think it was Gringo Loco. I'm not 100%. Well, I forgot about that. But yes, so he picked up a very interesting victory. So that means he will pay attention between Ace Austin and Myron Reed. Our next match, we got the Savage Gentleman, Victor Benjamin, taking on Shaft. Now, Shaft has not been on a carrying mood. He's been having one sight set, and that is the AAW Heavyweight Championship. But he has to go through but he has to face Victor Benjamin first. I mean, Victor did a pretty good job, but he got hamburgered by Shaft no matter what. You know, Shaft he's a crazy SOB. He would do anything to win. And that's exactly what he did. He took him out, completely beat him down, and that was over. Next up, we got Mike Bennett taking on the Savage Weight, Fred Yehi. So, as you know, I was like watching how Mike Bennett was getting him chopped off, getting beat up by Fred Yehi, but apparently he was no match for him. As you know, he is a tactician. He is one of those wrestlers that you know is technical, kind of similar to the the Blackpool Combat Club. But damn, yes. So Mike Bennett lost in that fashion. Next up, we got six-man tag team. We got Ren Jones teaming up with Karam and Hakeem Zayn to take on Jossie, ACH, and of course, all night long, Rich Swann. I thought this match was pretty good. I enjoyed it. You know, if you notice, all of these guys are African Americans, all wrestlers. But one thing that let us stand out is Ren Jones trying to steal the spotlight. Basically, he did not want to allow either Karam or Hakeem trying to take the win. However, because of his attitude, it's what he lost. Apparently, Karam and Hakeem were super kicked, and then he got super kicked. But at the same time, he was the one who actually who actually got pinned in the first place by his own arrogance. So that's what you get. Now, our first championship match is the Heritage Cup the Heritage Championship between two former friends, Myron Reed and Ace Austin. Now, this whole thing began last month when Myron Reed attacked Ace Austin like he felt that. I don't know if they believe this is a string of jealousy between those two. I mean, who knows? But that's what took place during that time. So I have to say it was pretty good, but however, my Ace Austin was able to pick up the victory when he pulled off the unfolded and it was already over in his favor. But Myron Reed did say it once the match was over. It's not over. So he still has his sights set on this title. Our next match is the AAW Women's Championship between Christy James along with that sleazeball Ren Jones taking on Sky Blue. Now, these two used to be friends, but Ren Jones got into her head claiming that she was a much bigger star. But of course, Ren Jones was going to get involved. Sky Blue had no one by her side to keep her up, and not to mention those idiots, the Boricua Society, were there too, but they were not getting in the way because they're scared. But however, because of Ren Jones getting involved, Sky Blue lost the title in that fashion. But sooner or later, Sky Blue will get her retribution, but someone needs to take care of that idiot Ren Jones. Now, our next match is a battle of strength between Garvin taking on Josh Alexander. I thought that match was much a heavyweight standard, in, in my opinion, but what did happen is near the end, Garvin actually hurt himself, but of course, Josh Alexander was telling him, come on, hit me. So he's trying to get him while they'll try to see if he still got what it takes. But unfortunately, he did not. He got the C4 spike, and it was over. But of course, Josh Alexander decided to help him out to get him back on his feet, showing respect, that he did have a lot of guts. Next up is the AAW Tag Team Championship. We got Heather Reckless and Russ Jones taking on Alexander Hammerstone and Ace Perry. Now, Russ Jones doesn't need a partner. I don't know why he picked a girl. Even his manager was not too keen on this. But, I mean, Russ Jones could do things on himself, but Heather Reckless seems like, look, you can't just keep me on the sidelines. I think that's what played out. But, however, Heather Reckless was the weakest link in between the team, and that's the reason Ace Perry was able to pick up a victory on her to retain the titles. Now, our next match is the AAW Heavyweight Championship between Eric Young and the champion Matt Fitchett. But before the match even starts, Shav shows up like he still has an unfinished business towards Matt Fitchett. But the match itself was great. It showed even Eric Young thinks that Matt Fitchett is not the kind of guy who should be a champion. He thinks he doesn't have what it takes to be a champion. But Fitchett did not take the too keen on this, but he wanted to show him he's wrong, and of course he did that. He showed him how wrong he was, and he retained the title. Now, our next match, our final main event, is the steel cage match between Silas Young and one called Manders. Now, Silas Young believes, since his return to the Independents, that there's no men left. He thinks that he's the last of his breed, believing that there's no man. So he started picking a fight with anybody who thinks you're not a man, and he called out Manders himself. So this time, this match goes into a steel cage. I thought it was great, but the one thing was so great was Val Morone was so dumb enough to get inside, but she got put through the table out of commission. But the craziest moment is when Manders had him right on top of the steel cage and blammo right through tables, and it was out. So hopefully Silas Young can finally shut up and start saying, yes, there are good men here, real men. So I thought the show was amazing. It was good. Hopefully there'll be more. I can't wait to see what's going to happen for next month. But right now, let's move on with VXS. Okay, so we got Violence and Suffering, or as VXS, with Lucid Dreams 2. This took place also on the 29th of April. Opening match, Nick Wayne taking on Alec Price. I thought the match was great. A bit of the more of the cruiserweight style, but what a great match. But I did like how Nick Wayne ended the match with a cutter off the turnbuckle to finish Alec Price. What an impressive victory by him. Next match we have is a triple threat match. We have Jackson Drake versus Gabriel Sky versus Yoya. The match was kind of like okay. They're anything goes in. But the biggest surprise is in the end is Yoya. What happened is when Drake and Sky were right there in front of each other, Yoya jumped off, hurt himself. But we find out it was a lie. Yoya crossed the line. Basically, he turned heel. He kicked Jackson Drake right in the groin to win the match. Now, why would he do that? Well, maybe he had enough not being the guy he said he was going to be. Who knows? So he may turn heel on this one. Excuse me. That was my cat. Anyway, right now we have Reed Walker taking on Robert Martyr. Now, I don't know who much about Reed Walker, but Robert Martyr, I have seen him before. But Reed was impressive, but he picked up a very strong victory against Robert Martyr. I didn't expect it. I don't think Robert expected either, but he picked up a good one. Next up, we got Aries versus Speedball McBailey. Man, this was a good match. I think Aries was impressed too because no one could ever wrestle like Mike Bailey. But I think the best moment is Aries was already down. You know, Mike Bailey does like this shooting star knee drop on his opponents. Aries was getting up and blam right there. I'm like, wow, that was great. Aries actually was okay, but he actually showed respect to Mike Bailey, and I think it showed him he has what it takes. And of course, Mike Bailey had no clue that they were tossing money, so I thought that was really interesting. Now our next match is a Pure Rules match that Masha Slamovich has requested against Marcus Mathers. Now you probably say mostly we see these type of matches in either like Terminus or Ring of Honor. I would agree, but in this Masha wanted to do it. She is skillful in MMA, but she put Mathers in an armbar, and he had no other choice but to tap out. As you know, the rules of Pure Rules, you only get 3 rope breaks and all that, so he already exceeded it, but he had no other choice but to tap out. Next match, we got Tony Deppen taking on AJ Gray. Now, originally he was supposed to have someone else, but that person couldn't make it. So he ended up with AJ Gray, but Tony Deppen walked out as the victor. I'm like, I didn't expect him to walk out. He picked up a really good victory against him. And I think many fans were a bit disappointed that AJ Gray didn't win. But a win is a win. So, because in the end, he actually did pull off the elbow strikes onto AJ Gray. So, yeah. Next up, we got Joey Janela versus Drago Kid. Now, Drago Kid was being tossed around like a rag doll. So you wouldn't expect that from him, but it did. I have to say, Drago Kid really picked up really did impression, but Joey Janela was just the bad boy when he won the match, and it was over right there. Next up is a Modern Warfare rules match. Now, there's been like a dissension between both Jordan Oliver and Jimmy Lloyd. Now, Jimmy Lloyd has been undefeated in this company, so basically, this will be put to the test. But in the end, he got himself set on fire thanks to Jordan Oliver, and that allowed him to become now defeated. One loss in the streak. But it looks more like maybe Jimmy Lloyd is not over with this yet, but we'll see what happens in the near future for this promotion. Right now, let's move on with uh, New Japan Strong. This review is New Japan Strong with Strong Style Evolved. Opening match, we got a pair of the young lions coming from the LA Dojo, DKC versus Kevin Knight. Now, I have to say, it was a very impressive match. Not the best, but impressive. Now, as you know, when it comes with the young lions, they intend to grow to see how far they learned from Shibata. And that's always a good thing because we've seen that before on many occasions. But I think the one thing we can pay attention is um, what they learned. I was impressed with DKC mostly. I mean, I do remember DKC here in the SoCal for a while, but it was impressive. But truthfully, I did not expect him to win the match, but it was very good when he pinned him. And I think we should pay attention to TKC from now on. Now, our next match is the battle of like, who is the best junior heavyweight competitor. We have TJP of the United Empire versus a guy we have seen many occasions, Mascara Dorada. Now, these two knew each other from before. If you guys notice, they came from the 205 Live roster, so it was like kind of like deja vu. Now, TJP ran his mouth claiming that he's the best junior heavyweight competitor, but Mascara Dorada proved otherwise. It was like, if you're the best junior heavyweight competitor that you claim you are, let's prove it right now. So I think that kind of puts it into that type of storyline that we can view. But yeah, but it was a very impressive match, and I think it was. But what I did like is how Mascara Dorada picked up a very strong victory by spinning TJP and put him into a power bomb, and it was over. However, TJP did not take this loss lightly. He basically attacked Mascara Dorada and removed his mask by um, pulling sacrilegious right there. As you know, it's total disrespect of the mask, but of course, TJP doesn't care because he claims he's still the best, but he wasn't the best for the night. Now, our main event is Ren Narita versus Jay Lethal. Man, what a match! I think it was pretty good. I enjoyed exactly how this one was because as you know, Ren Narita has impressed us for many from the time he's been in LA Dojo, and I think many of us could get behind him. Now it's only a matter of time before he heads back to Japan, but I'm just wow. And he was bleeding out of his mouth. He even pulled off submission moves that only Shibata could pull, and I think it was great. But however, the lethal injection is the final nail in the coffin that allow for Jay Lethal to win the match. But in the end, Jay Lethal gave a huge amount of respect for Narita. So I have to say, I like this match. It was amazing. So I think that's pretty much it. So I believe it's time for me to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Sorry there's no news updates at this point. Um, right now for the next episode, I'm gonna do Choco Pro. I haven't decided yet if I was going to do another review after that, but only time will tell. So we'll just wait and see what takes place. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.